thumbnail for beautiful Hank here, but apparently he wouldn't hold still and there was too much movement, so there may not be a thumbnail for this live segment. We just brought out Clover, a 5-year-old pit bull, and she was an absolute sweetheart. But I was asked if we could take some pictures and get some exposure for Hank here. Hank is 7 months old. He has been neutered. Somebody tried to do some work on his ears, and they did a botch job, and we won't tell Hank this, but don't think it looks too well, and hopefully he's fully recovered from it. But he's got a lot of spots all over him from something. Looks like something was around his neck. I can check with the staff here to kind of figure out what his medical issues are. But Hank is unfortunately one of the young dogs here. He's not quite on the list yet, but unfortunately, just because they have a list doesn't mean that they won't get an influx of dogs coming in. One of the worst case scenarios is what kind of happened yesterday with the tropical storm slash hurricane coming through. We know for a fact that there's going to be dogs that get out of the yards, they're scared, they get out of the house, and finding their owners quickly could actually save other dogs' lives. If they're here and they're taking up spots in the animal shelter kennels, then unfortunately, if they're at capacity and there's capacity issues, they have to decide who they're going to put down, and it's normally the longest tenured dogs, which if you followed the series for any period of time, Talitha was here for almost a year. Now that was not the only criteria at the time, but she was such a great dog. Trainers had nothing but great things to say. Me and her would go out and matching pink tutus up and down Main Street, trying to find her, the perfect adopter. And fortunately, that one worked out. But I bring that up because it took almost a year for her to go high risk, whereas now, some of these dogs aren't in here but a month and a half because of the influx of dogs. People are just abandoning their dogs or overbreeding or whatever they're doing. It seems like everybody's doing it at the same time, and it's not fair for the dogs, it's not fair for the animal population here. So one of the things the volunteers at the animal shelter are doing is trying to come out and get some social media attention for some of our buddies. So Hank was a request from one of the staff members. I try to get them as soon as they come in, but if they're double kenneled, it's a little bit harder as a volunteer to try to pull one out. So I was able to pull his mom, Clover, out just a few minutes ago. So if you go back in and watch that live, Clover is his mom. And Clover's probably one of the sweetest dogs that I've ever pulled out here. And Hank is still a puppy. You can see him sniffing my pocket. I've got a pocket full of treats, and they just seem to be very food motivated. Look at his beautiful eyes. So he's got some pretty big feet, so don't know how big Hank is going to get, but I would imagine he's probably going to get at least as big as his mom was, and I'm guessing she was probably 40 or 45 pounds, just kind of small, stocky, strong, hopefully just as loving as his mom was. Here you go, Hank. So I've got 3 different types of treats, and he does not seem to discriminate. He is going after every single one of them. You see his little tail wagging here. So I'm going to check with the vet later to find out what all these little spots are. Not quite sure what it is. And I had to wipe the sleep out of his eyes earlier. If you follow our Facebook page, I uploaded one yesterday of a pit bull that they just named him Puck today. So we just updated his name. But I was getting too many comments about there being eye boogers in his eyes, and I didn't wipe it out. I don't think that really took anything away from him, but probably something a true photographer would have done and not just a volunteer. But eventually I had to get around to that, and his pictures are just going wild right now. So we're hoping anytime you can get one dog a lot of attention on social media, a lot of times it boosts the other posts too. So we certainly want one dog to get adopted. But with the influx of information that we have out there, hopefully if someone sees that dog and it's already adopted, then they'll go through the rest of the feed and see some other ones that may be really good fit for their family. So I tried a ball test with this dog earlier. He didn't really seem too interested. He'll chase it, but he won't bring it back. Did the road test with little Hank earlier, and he's actually more reactive to it now than he was before, but I think he's probably smelling the treats on there and want me to just be quiet and go get him some treats. So later today we'll have some posts here. We'll probably put a post or two on YouTube for his photos that are going to be online. One of the things that I do as a volunteer is try to get a bunch of pictures and videos of the dogs, and all of our videos for YouTube are actually uploaded to Pet Finder. So if somebody happens to be browsing Pet Finder and they see one of our Doggy Day Out videos, they can go through and see what these dogs are like outside of the kennel. And we've seen that many excuse me, we've seen that many times when we bring the dogs out in public and their personalities just light up. They're not scared, they're not reacting to all the noise. And that was the case earlier this week with Luna, the little 6-month-old, Pittie, and then Gloria. And of course, as soon as I got up here, one of the volunteers had Gloria out. She's like, "What a sweet dog!" And I was like, "Yeah, she's my favorite one." We're trying to give her a little bit of extra information, a little bit of extra exposure to try to help her get adopted. But every volunteer that works at that volunteers at a shelter knows the reality is, if too many of them come in at one time, somebody's got to make decisions on who can stay and who can leave. And so when there's emphasis specifically on different dogs up here, it's probably our favorites, probably ones that we've spent the most time with. So we all try to get together and put that information out there. But because so many of the volunteers got together and started really pushing the high-risk list dogs, it gave me an opportunity to kind of back away from that and get the dogs that have just come in. Because if these dogs only have 6 to 8 weeks before they are high risk, because of the influx of dogs coming in, then a lot of the pictures and videos that we've done can help them get marketed. I don't know if you guys saw last week, there was a 10-year-old pit bull, just a sweetheart, scared out of her mind. She came in because her owner's passed away. And it's tough seeing dogs at the animal shelter. It's incredibly difficult when they're seniors. And this shit on Facebook has been shared about 250 times. They just stopped allowing us to do cat tests unless it's for a rescue, because they don't want to stress the cats out. So we weren't able to do that, but hopefully I'll find out what the dog test results are. We have a couple of potential fosters for her right now, and sometimes I'll just bring her out, let her sit for 5 or 10 minutes, and she doesn't really let me pet her. She's looking for her owner, and her owner passed away, and apparently the family members were not in a position to take her in, or just simply didn't own her. And it's tough. If you guys know my story, I adopted a 10-year-old pit bull plot hound mix from up here last year in June, and then started asking about volunteer opportunities. So literally that dog, that adoption, led me to running more time for dogs, and we're actually changing the name of that pretty soon, because there's a disconnect between the words of it and how people are interpreting it. So we think we got a better strategy for helping people understand what it is we do and why we do it. So I'm going to take this sweet little guy Hank back to his kennel and load him up on some treats, and I may go bring the Skinny Mini Dog's puppies out, and I may go bring Skinny Mini out, just depending on how much time we have today. So talk to you guys later.